Howdy guys, welcome back to Let's Play Enter the Gungeon. I'm Nai.
I'm Mako, and I still entering the Gungeon. Does anyone else get unique outfits?
Yep, everybody does. Where is the Huntresses? I know I've killed your past. Where's your outfit? At least I'm pretty sure I've killed your past. Oh, let's check something. Yeah, I have killed your past. Where's your unique outfit? See, here's the other one for the convict. Here is the other one. There we go. This is the other one for the pilot. And the other one for the hunter is... Yeah, I know what it's supposed to be. I just don't know where it is. That is very weird. I have killed the past on this character, right? I'm pretty sure I've killed the past on this character.
Yeah, it says you killed the past with this character.
Yeah. So where the hell's my outfit? Okay, what do I need to kill right now? 4 mimics, okay. So here's a question for you, Mako. Do you read Terry Pratchett novels at all?
Oh yes, that's one of the things I read in great quantities, such as one can at least.
Okay, so you've read Unseen Academicals then?
Yes.
Okay, so this subject will be a little bit familiar to you then. So do you remember, and for those who have not read Terry Pratchett or Unseen Academicals, I encourage you to go read both immediately. Do you remember one of the primary concerns of the character Nut? One of his primary motivations as a character. Do you remember what that was?
He had a couple, I think. So you might need to be a bit more specific for me to know where you're going with this.
It's one of the main ones. It's one of his last lines in the entire book refers to it.
I am suddenly drawing a blank.
So Mr. Nut, one of his primary things that he had to do, and they made a big deal out of it, so I'm amazed that you're not remembering this, is to, and I quote, accrue worth. And it's something that he asks multiple times of multiple characters throughout the course of the story, do I have worth? Which is interesting, because, you know, you hear a lot about something being a worthy cause, or, you know, doing something worthwhile with your life and stuff like that. So, you know, out of curiosity, you know, I was thinking about it. How do you accrue worth? How do you actually define, you know, worth as something like that? I mean, one of the things that, you know, also comes up out of this is, you know, you can define worth, you know, helping your fellow man and, you know, doing something good for humanity, doing something good for the world, or something even smaller, just making somebody smile. There's a couple different ways that you can, you know, define worth. But the other question is, you know, how much do you have to have to be worthy? That's one of the things that's one of the things that he gets motivated by, is that he is trying to have worth. But you look at a lot of things he does, and it's a question of, okay, you know, you have done a lot of things. You've done a lot of things more than most men could. You know, do you not see that as worthy? And in these cases, he didn't. And then later on in the books, one of the things he says is that worth is not something that you just build up. It's not a goblet that you can just fill, and once it's full, you've completed, you know, worthwhile causes for the remainder of your life. It's an ever emptying goblet. It's one of those dribble cups that you see in prank shops. It's constantly emptying, and you constantly have to refill it. So I was kind of curious about your thoughts on that. How do you approach that subject?
Worth by what measure?
That's the question.
Exactly, like that. Well, that's sort of the point I'm making. Like, it's all well and good to say, you know, you're seeking worth, but this I think is also part of the point that the book was making, is worth by what measure. He keeps seeking worth, but he's never entirely sure what the worth is he's looking for.
Well, I think the part of the reason for that is that the person who told him to seek worth also did not define it. That's part of it. That's a major kind of plot point that comes up, is that the person who told him to seek worth does not tell him what worth to seek. They just say, seek it and go. Which, it's kind of a thing.
Well, in my particular case, like, I have schooling. I have actually a full amount of schooling at this point. For me, I would say that, finding worth and being, effective would be basically not being stupid, being able to put the information, put things I've learned to a functional use. Like, I don't...
Just functional?
Like, I would like to put it to, I would like to see to it that what I have done has had some... I can't say some value, because that's not really what because that's sort of dodging the question, but... I would like to see that the information and the knowledge I have does not go to waste. I do not yet understand...
For example, if you become... if you become an evil mastermind using your marketing knowledge, is that worth? Harming humanity, doing bad things. Does that count? You putting it to good use?
Ultimately, I've never had an opportunity to find out.
That kind of frightens me that that's how you answered that question. I gotta be honest.
Come on, you should really know this by now.
But, I mean, that's just one of those... It's one of those interesting questions to me, because, you always hear about people who are heroes, or people who are championing a worthy cause. And then there's a question of, like, what makes a cause more worthy than others? I just took some really dumb damage. As a good example, one thing that you see a lot, especially around, I believe it's the month of May, is breast cancer awareness. We champion the hell out of that particular cause. It's I think one of the most noteworthy and kind of recognizable awareness causes that have gone on for a while. I think that's one of the first places the ribbons started showing up. Where have you been all my life? But it's one of the most common causes that you see is breast cancer awareness. One of the questions is, what makes that particular awareness worth more than, let's say, that's not amazingly particular, but that's somewhat particular to women. What makes that more particular than, say, prostate cancer awareness? One is championed more than the other. What makes one cause worth more than the other? So that's kind of the question there. It's like, what... Okay, I'll take the hammer. What makes one thing more worthy than another when it comes to that sort of thing? I know, a lot of companies champion one type of charity more than another. One of my favorite events, one of my favorite charity events, the AGDQ and SGDQ events. One supports Doctors Without Borders, one supports the Prevent Cancer Foundation. What makes those two foundations the ones that are championed over other things? It is kind of an interesting thought. What makes one more worthy than the other? Yeah, it's not happening. Talking to myself with notes. I'm changing my notes over to the next thing we're going to talk about. For those of you who don't know, I've talked about it a couple times in episodes, but I have notes that I take while I'm driving, because I have thoughts while driving. It's kind of this problem that I have. And I take notes on just the random thoughts that run through my head, and either talk about them on here, or I check my notes every once in a while in case I have something stupid I want to look at. For example, how familiar, Mako, are you with League of Legends?
I have played it. I understand the basic concepts of it.
Okay, do you know the character Xin Zhao?
Do I know the character which?
Xin Zhao. He's the Asian gentleman with the spear.
Nope. Not in my...
Interesting. One of my thoughts as I was driving yesterday, the day before, I can't remember which day it was, I was thinking of, I don't know how I came to this idea, but one of my thoughts was a parody of the Beauty and the Beast song Gaston about Xin Zhao. And the problem is, most of these jokes you're not gonna get, but it's, it was, lines like, no one, ganks like Xin Zhao or shreds tanks like Xin Zhao, and nobody messes Red Team's, ranks like Xin Zhao. I forget some of the other ones I had. Crap. No one has, crap, what was it? Because I was having fun with this. I was doing my entire half-an-hour drive was me coming up with just like random lines to match that cadence. It was like, no one has heals like Xin Zhao or has spears like Xin Zhao. And I can't remember what else I came up with. And then one of the there was one of the lines that Gaston actually says. Crap, what is it? So this is the problem. I'm trying to remember this while I'm playing, and it's not going well. Nope, not thinking of it. But that was one of the thoughts that I was thinking of. So I tend to take notes on these because they're really good for either random bullshit that I'm doing, or, you know, if I'm doing something like talking to Mako and something like this, they come up with some random good conversations. And something I noticed...
shooting fish out of that barrel?
Yes, I am.
Oy.
You may also notice that it's confusing enemies. It seems to be confusing you too, so it works equally in and out of the game. One of the thoughts I was thinking about was actually the series of books that I've been reading. So I love talking about books on this, just because some of the books I read get truly random at times. And I ran out of books that I knew about that I wanted to work on. So I've started taking random suggestions, some from YouTube comments, some from friends, and then also some from Amazon. But one thing that happened is when I got my tablet last year, I like looking for really good deals when I buy electronics. And one of them was that when I got my tablet last year, one of the deals they were running was that if you buy the tablet, Samsung was doing this thing with Amazon where every month you get a free book from one of the Amazon reading lists. So they got 4 books each month, and you choose one of them to get it free. And so I was between books, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to read. And I saw, you know, I looked at the free reading list, and I'm like, okay, let me try one. And the problem is, I'm not a big romance guy when it comes to novels. They just don't interest me all that much. And 3 out of the 4 novels were obvious romance novels. So, you know, naturally I went, okay, I'll try number 4. And the description of it was interesting as hell. You have, the book is called Marked, which was interesting in and of itself. And the idea was that it's in a kind of post or mid-apocalyptic Boston. Okay, so the apocalypse is kind of going on, but I guess it's kind of like tail ending. So things like, you know, global warming, it's 2050 or 2080, something like that. Global warming happened. The ice caps melted. Global climate change occurred. A lot of the Earth is swampy. If it isn't swampy, it's if it's not a swampy area, it's a desert. Apparently, Canada and the Arctic Circle are now the best farming areas in the world. Most of the United States is complete desert, so lots of changes. So we got our character Eli, who is a paramedic who's coming out of Pittsburgh, but apparently Pittsburgh is complete. It's basically like the Wild Wild West is the way they were kind of describing it. So, you know, he's used to having a lot of adversity when it comes to taking care of patients kind of on the fly, and so he's coming into Boston, which is apparently supposed to be just as bad, and trying to help out there. And the book is kind of interesting because it switches back and forth constantly between the 2 main characters, Eli, who is one of our main characters, and crap, what's her name? Female named character, whose name is evading me at the moment, who is also a paramedic, who happens to turn out to be his partner. Immediately, the book sets up some... What is this?
Huh.
Abyssal Tentacle. And he also has the Gun Knight armor. Interesting. We're gonna have to come back for that. So the game...
You have to think about your options very carefully.
Yeah. I kind of want that tentacle and see what it does. Sounds like we've used that before. I think it's a recent unlock. So the book immediately sets up some sexual tension between them, and it also sets up that this... Okay, let's not use... Okay. It also sets up that the storyline is kind of a little bit different, or at least the setting is, because paramedics for them are a little bit different. Like, life is very, very short and very, very cheap in this world. People die very, very quickly. So when a paramedic gets to the scene, the first thing they do is they tag people. I don't know if this is a real-life thing. I'm kind of curious, actually. They tag people as obviously going to survive, barely going to survive, or dead or about to die. Like, it's an immediate characterization thing for them. And they don't even bother trying to help people that are obviously going to die. But they have tools, things like being able to grab body parts and bag them for later reattachment. Moonscraper. You know, they can save a lot of people, things like that. But we very quickly learn that our main character, our female lead, is what the game calls a fairy. And F-E-R-R-Y. And the fairies apparently are literally the farriers of the dead. The book does something that I absolutely adore, and it takes real world mythology and uses it in a somewhat unique way. So the idea is that the fairies are led by the Charon, so as in I think that's the Greek. I don't think he's a god, but he's the one who ferries lost souls across the river Styx into Hades. And he's the one that you know, the 2 pennies you pay to the ferryman, that guy. So the fairies are a clan of peoples who are led by they're led by the Charon, and the idea is that when a soul dies, a fairy has a necklace that will tell them they have to go find this person, and it will transport them to this person's soul in a kind of... Okay, that's interesting. That is a weapon. Jeez. Interesting. But they kind of use the necklace. Okay, so that was really stupid damage. And I was trying to turn that off. Okay. But they use the necklace to get themselves to the soul, and then they flip the soul either to heaven or hell, depending on where that person is bound to. And in return for doing so, they get a gold piece. So this naturally makes the fairies really, really rich, because they get a gold piece for every person who dies in the world. This world's already kind of a hellhole. Like, the world is kind of ruined anyways. So lots of people are dying. So the fairies are extremely rich. They own the majority of Boston. They have like a 20% share in the local police department. They own the paramedics, like all kinds of stuff. They're also kind of like, they're into everything globally. The thing is that there's also something called a care, or a kier, or a cur, or something like that. I never figured out how it was supposed to be pronounced, because I don't understand if this one's like a mythology based in the book, or if this is a real world thing. But these are kind of... These are creatures who... okay, hold on. What do we want to give up? We'll give up the Moonscraper. Thank you. The Care are people who would have died if not for being interrupted by the Lord of the Care, and they are people who have to have killed in the past. That's kind of the caveat about these folks. They can choose to, instead of dying, they can choose to become a Care. And their job is, they are told who is supposed to die and when they're supposed to die. They're told by fate, basically. And, so they're told who is supposed to die, and the Care has to touch that person. And then after touching that person, whatever the Care wants to happen to them happens. Like, they choose how the people die. The problem is many Care are already killers themselves, so they usually choose really not nice ways for them to die. So the story is about these two people. The fairy, who is trying to keep her life separate, it's kind of meant to be a secret, something like that, and the guy who eventually falls for her. And I didn't realize it to begin with, but I realized about 2 chapters in, as there was some obvious sexual tension between these characters, that, I am reading a romance novel and I didn't realize it. Which is kind of interesting, because I wasn't ever into that type of novel. But what got even more interesting is I found myself wanting to read more in this series because I wanted to see where it was going to go with it. Because the story, the setting, I mean, the settings were very thinly veiled excuses to have an interesting thing going on around the characters as they eventually get together. But I was interested enough to figuring out exactly how that was going to go down. So I found myself reading all 3 books in the series and fairly well enjoying it, even if the writing was not exactly amazing. And then promptly found myself reading another series that is probably the same thing. Make, have you ever gotten yourself set up like that? Like something you're like, oh man, I really am not interested in this, and then all of a sudden...
This sounds really neat and unique, and suddenly it's not.
Well, no, it was neat and unique. That's the thing about this. The way the stories set themselves up, the way kind of the world building was done, the characterization is fairly well done. Like, it is... The characters are a little bit one-dimensional, I'll admit, but, you know, things were done well enough that it kind of disguised what it was until I kind of had no choice but to enjoy it. And that's what kind of interests me, is that this is not a genre that I would normally find myself interested in, and then all of a sudden, I'm finding myself interested in because of this particular series. And then I've also found a completely other different series that I had seen before. Have you heard of a series called The Paper Sorcerer?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
The Paper Sorcerer.
Paper Sorcerer?
No, sorry, Paper Magician. Paper Magician, sorry. I keep on doing that.
Again, it's one of those, you're cutting in and out for me.
But The Paper Magician.
Paper Magician. No, I haven't heard of that.
It's been recommended to me by Amazon a couple of times, and finally I came to the conclusion that, well, if they're recommending it, I might as well go look at it. I don't know if this one is necessarily meant to be a romance novel, or if it's just the romance is just in there. But, oh, good. I made a good choice. But it's a pretty interesting series of books that reminds me a lot, believe it or not, of Howl's Moving Castle. That I've grown to enjoy. But it's another one of those things, like, I feel like it could be romance, and I feel like I've gotten myself into a genre that I never would have gotten into if not for this other series of books that got me into it. So it's just kind of weird. Also, this battle's going well.
The jetpacks built for bikes like this.
Can you stop doing that? Okay, don't do that. Okay, you need to die sometime soon. Could you please? So I'm running out of ammo. Ah, damn it. That was a really bad damage I took. I was too focused on killing her.
You were so close.
Yeah. No keys, unfortunately. I do not want the escape rope. I'm gonna go deal with that. Unfortunately, no keys. It's a problem. We're also somewhat running out of ammo. Like, not in a really bad way, but... I wonder... No, I can't do it again. Okay. We've got plenty of guns and such, but ammo's becoming a little bit scarce right now.
Okay, something that you haven't run across in this, at least in the runs that I've watched when you've been playing, but one that I seem to get a lot of. Treasure chests that have fuses.
Oh, I get them all the time. I don't think you've seen me get one, but I get them.
I was gonna say, I've never seen you get one when I've been here.
Let me go look for some secret rooms while I have time and blanks. Let's go into the most obvious rooms. No? I really don't want to use ammo looking for them. Is that it? It is. Okay. Okay. That was actually not worth the ammo spent to get that, but fine. No, I just I'm just getting myself trapped by really interesting ideas. Okay. I think it might also be that I had, like, a false idea of what a romance book would be, because, you know, I grew up with the concept, the Harlequin romance novel and bodice rippers kind of built into my head. Not helped at all by the fact that, my mom would continuously read these very, vapid-sounding romance novels by a, author, called Nora Roberts. So it may just be that I was, you know, painting them with a false brush, but I swear to God that's not what it feels like. I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm not enjoying the books, though. It's such a weird thing. It's like, I'm also not into, like, death metal. So it's like suddenly finding a band that I thought was going to be something else suddenly becomes death metal and going, wow, I like this for some reason. I don't understand why. You have nothing good. Why do you have nothing good? I need ammo. I need ammo for my Day of the Tentacle gun, because that's what that is, let's be honest. That is the Day of the Tentacle gun. Which is a really good game that I need to play at some point. Have you played Day of the Tentacle, Mako?
No, I have not. Although I have watched, you know, I have seen it played. So, like,
yes.
I know
Aha!
the story. So,
I played it way back in the day at a friend's house, and really liked it. Though we weren't very good at it, and it is on Steam now, and I've been seriously considering going to pick it up. Especially because it's kind of cheap, too. But I haven't generally been into, you know, point-click adventure games recently, so I'm not sure if it's going to be something I'm actually going to want to play. And I've been kind of reticent to buy games recently, because I have so many games I haven't played.
always, yeah, I know how that goes.
Well, keep in mind, I also have, you know, a lot of really amazing games coming out sometime soon. Stuff like, you know, The Last Guardian is on its way.
I'll believe that when I see it, sorry.
But that's supposedly on its way. We got stuff like Horizon Zero Dawn is looking really awesome. There's a bunch of games that I'd love to do here, and I have actually finally gotten my systems set up near my TV in such a way that I could actually start system recording again. Which I really want to do. There's actually a series of games I would love to do, you know, here. So, I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to do that. The recording device that I want to use, I still can't get my hands on. As silly as that is. I can't decide what I want to do, because, you know, part of me wants to go back and do Ratchet & Clank. Part of me wants to do an RPG, even though I know it's going to take forever. I don't know which one's going to have my attention the most, you know? I don't know, Mika, you have any opinions on that score?
I'd always like to see to see a couple physical, like, I'd love to do some recording. I'm actually looking into ways to do recordings of some physical stuff, but I'm always in favor of that sort of thing because they're usually quite neat.
Wait, the game was being very loud there.
I'm in favor of, you know, if you can find something neat that you want to show off, finding some way to show it off.
Well, but you know, one thing that's been on my list And by the way, this list is the same list that had stuff like Aquaria on it. And, Mako, I think that you, at least, are aware of how much I wanted to do that.
Yeah, you enjoyed your way through it quite well,
yeah,
so...
I had fun with that. I kind of want to do Ni no Kuni. But
I'd love to see that, but that's letting yourself in for some pretty,
that game's going to take forever. Like, even though I know how to play it, I'm probably going to have to off-screen a lot of stuff, a lot of, like, farming and such.
Play that, you're in for the long haul.
Yeah, that game's long. You know, we'll be going. But I do think the story and gameplay are engaging enough, and it's a game that I think did not get enough love from many people, so I do want to share it with fellow JRPG lovers and fellow lovers of like the Miyazaki films, because that's the aesthetic that it goes for. Hey, look! Speaking of which,
yep,
and I have no keys.
I have long supported the concept of, you know, showing off weird and unusual games that other people have never had a chance to see. I have a PS2 game or two that I'm actually looking on a way to show, because have you ever heard of Robot Alchemic Drive?
Heard of, yes, played, no.
That's the problem. So few people have played it. And I want to see more people get a chance to, well, at least see it and see how it was in action. For those who don't know, the idea behind it was, imagine if you were playing one of those, like, late 1990s giant robot anime. You know, straight down with the episode structure and all that. The whole idea was you are a kid who's, you know, a teenager who's got the remote control for a giant robot, and you're using it to deal with space aliens coming to Earth.
So it's Megas XLR, the game.
Kinda. The trick here is that, one, like, this is literally space aliens. In this world, humanity never left Earth.
Okay, like, in this world, humanity never left Earth either. So that's not a unique conceit.
Yeah, no, we've been to the moon.
Oh,
like,
okay.
We've been to, in that universe, humanity has been unable to leave Earth. Period. A sort of barrier that basically kills anything organic if it leaves the Earth's atmosphere.
Okay, that guy was there. We're going to die. Yep.
Oh, so close.
Nah, I should not have been using that jetpack as much as I was.
Well, I'll save the story for the next time then.
Okay, folks, we'll catch you later.